Cool. We're live. There
And we are live. Nice.
we
You
got
got ready
9.
quick.
Yeah, right. We got 9 amazing topics. One of which I contributed. So
You contributed 3, actually.
Oh, I
Yeah.
did. I can count. And I was like, wait a second, did I really?
Starting off, EA removed some in-game ads from their new game UFC 4. We've talked about EA adding in ads in other games before, but now they're removing them from games, which is good. We'll talk about that.
Super good.
Yeah. Expensive games, too. Minecraft fans discovered seed and location of some iconic Minecraft images.
Man, I've been keeping up with this story, and I'm so
Yeah.
glad that they found it.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Speaking of cool, SpaceX has done some early Starlink tests. Nothing groundbreaking, but it's good signs.
Is it space breaking?
Funny. Hopefully it's not internet service connection breaking.
Very.
SpaceX Starship successfully hopped 500 feet, which watching the video is just insane. Pretty cool. Researchers have found a way to use your phone's accelerometer to detect if you're drunk walking. How Google has used DeepMind to improve travel time estimates, not time travel estimates, but travel time estimates. And then we've got everything good.
Yes, yeah, everything's good.
Okay, cool.
It took a second for the stream to go live. It's like,
good.
We're there. Yep, and then there's an article here on Apple's other storage on their like iPhone devices, and I used to own an iPhone 4S, and that was always odd to me that they would just have like, your pictures, your music, your apps, other, and they never said what there is. And this article actually tells you. It's kind of obvious, I guess. Once you read it, you're like, oh, of course it would be.
Gotcha.
The NVIDIA is coming out with their new 3000 series, or 30 series, depending on how you want to look at it, with their 3070, 3080, 3090, and I don't see how they're going to keep one of them in stock. And then Microsoft says that they're finally going to kill off Flash after Adobe said...
Didn't they already say that?
What?
Weren't they already going to do that?
That was Adobe that was going to kill off Flash.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and Adobe said that they were killing it off the beginning of this year, I think.
Gotcha.
And now Microsoft says that they're going to get rid of it.
Gotcha. Well, that's timed pretty well with them coming out with a new Edge browser, I guess.
Right? For all those that still use addictinggames.com.
Enjoy it while you can.
So I think actually Addicting Games is just going to move over to non-Flash games, to HTML5 and
HTML5, yeah.
Yeah.
JavaScript. Yeah, probably so, but there will probably be games that aren't migrated over. Games that aren't played as much. So if you like a game that's not very popular.
Yeah. Or just the old games.
Yeah, super old games.
I'm going to addictinggames.com now.
See what games they have.
I'm just curious if they are Flash still. Or if
we can go ahead and hop on that topic then. Let's start with that topic.
All right, cool.
Starting at the bottom.
Which is a good thing that we're being forced to use the new YouTube streaming software, the new YouTube Studio, because it makes editing your description 3 buttons harder. So I'm not putting in the timestamps anymore because it's too many buttons.
Yep, so coming from this article at Tech Radar, Microsoft has announced it'll be ending support for Adobe Flash Player soon. It will no longer be supported on Microsoft's web browsers after December 31st, 2020, as the technology firm looks to ensure customers are secured online. So this really is timed perfectly with the release of the new Edge browser. I kind of wonder if there will still be an option to enable it, or if it will be completely disabled and completely blocked.
So it doesn't look like it's using Flash right now, because I have Flash blocked on the website and the game's playing. So I don't know. I just
I bet
typed
you
a
it's on a
game.
game by game basis. I bet if they've already migrated the games to be HTML5 compatible or whatever,
Okay.
then they
Yeah.
probably go with that. But I bet you there's still some games that are on Flash.
So do you think that somebody will find a way to run like Flash inside of a container, sort of idea? So even though the web browser doesn't detect it's Flash, it detects like it can run Flash things. I have no idea how to describe that better.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if there's
Like an
some way to get around Flash being
HTML5
disabled.
emulation of Flash.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Definitely wouldn't surprise me.
But yeah, so
But yeah.
from the looks of it, they're ending support at the end of the year, but then they're telling enterprise users. I don't know if you just said this. That they got a whole nother year.
Gotcha.
But chances are, so it's disabled by default, beginning
Mhm.
of the year. But you should still be able to enable it if you want. I feel like they should just rip this band-aid off already at this point. how
Yeah.
long how long are you gonna support it? But they're getting slightly closer, I guess, so that's a good thing.
Speaking of a good thing, so last year we talked about, I think it was EA's NBA 2K20 or 2K21 or whatever game
Yeah,
it was,
right.
probably 2K20 at that point. They had added in advertisements during
They
the
had made
gameplay,
actual commercials during your
actual
game.
commercials for real companies, not just
Yeah,
like a banner on the
spoofs.
side of the court or
Yeah.
whatever. But it was actual video advertisements as you're playing the game, like in cutscenes or whatever it was. I don't know. I didn't play it. And recently, they tried to do that again with the new UFC 4, another paid game. The game cost $60, and at its
so
release, it had advertisements on it.
so they were nice at the beginning. The first month it was released, there were no ads.
No, there were.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm looking at a picture that says otherwise. You see the
Uh,
article? I mean, this picture could be wrong. It says EA decided to add full-on commercials in the middle of gameplay in a $60 game a month after it's released, so it wasn't talked about in reviews.
oh, maybe you're right. Yeah, but now they've removed them to make it even more confusing. But now they've removed them. So there's no longer ads.
A wild question would be
Yeah.
the amount of effort it took to build the ads and get them into the game and make it still functional, functional for an EA game. Uh, and then the price to then take them back out. Do you think that they lost money having to pay the developer to implement the feature and then take the feature back out? Like, do you think EA
Uh,
actually made a profit on the commercials for their short
hmm.
run?
That's a good question. I don't know.
It'd be
That would
wild
be
if
interesting to
EA
see.
lost money
Yeah.
and made their entire community angry for
Hopefully they did.
a week, right?
Hopefully they did so they won't do it again.
Oh, they'll do it again.
Because yeah, people definitely spoke up and said, "Hey, not cool. We're paying $60 for this game."
And they're still
And
commercials.
yeah, but fortunately they did remove them.
How wild would it be that if they had like a free version of the game with commercials, kind of like how you sometimes can buy a phone off of Amazon and it can
Mhm.
have ads on the home screen or something, and it would be
Yeah.
cheaper. If EA made games where they're free but they have ads in the middle, and so the people that do pay full price for the game don't have ads, and so then they get like this 30-second advantage while you're sitting there watching an ad. They can like customize the team or make changes or something while you're stuck there, you know, watching Reebok shoes or something.
Yeah, well, it would be interesting to see whether people would go with the free version or if they would pay to get the ad-free version. And it's kind of interesting because what you're talking about is one of the main monetization methods of mobile apps and mobile
Right.
games.
So
Because
I
you can
think
usually
for
get the game for free and then pay to remove all the ads.
I think for PlayStation users, which I think EA is mostly for, like they make computer games too, but I think it's mostly PlayStation at this point. Uh, they would pay for it. I think if you're talking PlayStation or Xbox, you're talking about people that will spend money on a game versus the mobile market where people are less likely to spend any money on a game until they hit that threshold where they're spending lots.
Yeah, I can see that because I guess with a game console, you kind of have a barrier to entry. You buy the expensive game console, you don't want ads on that.
Yeah.
Whereas with the phone, you're just downloading a game to play a little bit.
It's become acceptable somehow.
Now, one difference in that is that a game on a game console generally costs 10 times as much as a mobile game. So,
correct. Yeah, I say now I'd never pay for a $60 phone app.
yeah.
But yeah,
dang, that's for sure.
right. But I'd spend $60 in a heartbeat on a computer app or program. And it's like, no, that's nothing. It's expected.
Yeah.
So it'd be wild to see how EA finds a way to put in commercials.
And it'd be interesting to see which way EA would make more money, either via selling the game or giving the game for free and adding advertising.
Right.
I would say the fact that they're selling the game says they'll probably make more money selling the game rather than running advertisements on it.
That's because they sell the same game every year with a different skin.
Yeah, true. Slightly better graphics and different players.
Slightly better graphics goes great into our next topic of Minecraft. It's always slightly better graphics. Over on Rock, Paper, Shotgun. So the title here is Minecraft fans have discovered the location of the most iconic image in Minecraft history. And the image is this little one right here. I can make it bigger. Look how terrible that looks.
Why would they do that to the image?
Right. It didn't look good to begin with.
Yeah.
But so that little mountain with the little waterfall, a beach, and a little piggy. So that's the most iconic image because it is on the default world. So when you load up Minecraft, that's the image you see. Hey, there's a better picture.
I think that's the image from the texture pack.
Texture pack. Okay.
Yeah, and then if you go up in the article, it says it's been just over a month since the location for Minecraft's title screen was discovered. So I think that's a different different image.
I see. Yeah.
Which is pretty interesting.
Yeah. So they finally found it after months and months of searching for it. This guy Sal, the letter C, the number 1, did several YouTube videos on it. I think there's 4 total now. Now that there's a reveal, so it's definitely interesting to go see. Links are in our descriptions. But it's neat that they finally found it. And there's the waterfall in the Minecraft world.
Yep. It's pretty cool.
It's a cool story, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great little series to watch if you want to see like a 45-minute series on somebody hunting down a Minecraft seed.
I'll definitely check that out because this article even mentions there are, let's see, millions, billions, 281 trillion, blah, 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 possible seeds. So a lot of seeds. You can't just go in, look at every seed, and try and find this place.
Yeah. And then the seed that they found it on is 3257840388504953787.
Yeah.
Right?
Someone didn't just type that into the seed thing and find it. Yeah. Apparently there's a document which talks about how they went through checking the seeds.
Yep.
And using some, I mean, I guess you could call it a supercomputer, right?
Yeah. And to top it off with the seeds is that several times they talk about in the videos, uh, the maps change how the seeds generate the map itself. And so if you load up this number seed in the new version of Minecraft, you'll have a different map versus the version that this picture was taken in. And so you're not only fighting seed numbers, you're also fighting versions of terrain generation.
Makes sense. So just just finding this image, which may not seem like much, is actually a pretty big thing.
But they found it. Speaking of finding things.
And doing big things. SpaceX's Starlink internet showed fast speeds during early tests, and yes, we think it's capable of gaming and streaming, according to this article from CNBC.
So how fast is considered fast to CNBC?
Greater than 100 megabits, which is definitely fast enough to game, definitely fast enough to watch streaming video. And I didn't see a ping in here at all.
Yeah, they say super low latency.
But I feel like it's pretty... we've talked about how we think it's going to be low latency, and Elon Musk said he's shooting for like 10 milliseconds latency, which is
pretty good.
Probably not going to achieve that, I would say. But yeah, that would be insane.
We could find out what it is right now.
Yeah, the real interesting thing to see will be once this network is actually under a bigger load. Right now, it was just being tested by employees. I don't even know if it's beta users yet or just, SpaceX employees testing out the service. But it'll be interesting to see once a lot of people are using the service, and I think there will be a ton of people using this service. People in rural areas who don't have other options, or who maybe just have one option for internet, so it's super expensive. I think that SpaceX Starlink will be very popular, so it'll be interesting to see how it performs under a bigger load. But it's good news for sure.
One thing they were talking about on the WAN show a while back was that Starlink is kind of like set up in a grid pattern. I'm actually just gonna make me bigger so I can use hands. In like a grid pattern. And so in the more dense populated parts of the world, like New York or California, or list popular places, Starlink won't be as good or even useful, but because there's so many people connecting to like a single node, and so you'd almost need a more node heavy section in the space to be able to talk with all the communications. But for rural areas, like you're saying, it would almost be better, because then you have 100 people connecting to one node, and then they could actually have internet access that's not dial up.
Yep. And to add to your point, I think SpaceX is also targeting more rural areas, whereas places like New York, you're going to have multiple options for internet service.
That's where fiber makes a lot more sense too.
Yeah, because you want those high speeds over, I guess less cables or less connection points. So
it's pretty neat that they're making progress.
Yep, up to I think 650 satellites so far out of 12,000.
I'll say they have multiple thousand. I know that they're allowed to have.
12,000. Yeah.
So what is this hop thinging?
Yes, you'll have to watch the video. So this is from over at CNET, SpaceX's Starship. So if you scroll down, there's a video. It says second launch. Yeah. See if we can watch that video.
Ugly Starship.
It looks like a grain silo.
That's exactly what I was thinking. What?
So it's taking off here, and it is taking off into the sky, and it travels about 500 feet. Yeah. So they're calling these hops. I don't know if that's a common terminology in the...
I mean, it looks like it's hopping.
Space world or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, it's hopping from the launch pad onto a landing platform. And it's just crazy to watch this massive object.
Of smoke, too.
Yeah.
Or dust or whatever, debris.
So this was, obviously just a little test hop. I guess they're testing mainly the engine. It's a single Raptor engine. And
That's
yeah, every
wild.
time I watch that video, it just seems insane to me. But to think that in, I don't know, 20 or 30 years, that could be just a
Normal.
normal everyday occurrence. Wow.
So how would you feel about one of these 700 feet above your house, hopping over like neighborhoods? Like,
So
right?
the goal isn't for it to be hopping or anything. The hop is just a test. So they're testing the engine to make sure it can produce enough thrust, I guess. So eventually this will, go up into space and orbit in space. It won't be hopping over our houses or anything. But I would not feel very good about that thing hopping over my house, to actually answer your question.
There's a tweet
Pretty
here.
smoky too.
Right, right. There's a huge heat wave.
Yeah.
There's a tweet right here. It says, "What's next, Elon? A 20-kilometer hop?" And he responds with, "We'll do several short hops to smooth out launch process. Then we'll go high altitude with body flaps." I have to believe that hops is a made up word now. There's no way someone at NASA's like, we're gonna call this a body flap.
I wonder if the body flap is some kind of attachment onto the rocket, like fins or something.
Okay. Yeah, because it's hard to believe that that would be the shape of a rocket that they would choose. Like a tin can with a square on top.
Yeah. Yeah. Doesn't look aerodynamic right now, but add a nose cone and there you go, I guess.
Right. I guess that's true.
But yeah, I just can't get over it every time I watch it.
Slap a couple solar roofs on that thing and you're good to go.
Oh, yeah. This article, I saw the title and I just had to add it.
I saw the title and then I read the first like 4 words and then I scrolled and I scrolled.
Okay. It's very long. Yeah. This article from over at Wired, your smartphone can tell if you're drunk walking. My first thought when I saw this article, remember a long time ago we were talking about Google Maps and how Google Maps had recorded some of your trips as riding on a motorcycle?
Yes.
That's what I immediately thought of when I saw this drunk walking thing. So some researchers at, let's see if I can find where it was. I believe it was a university somewhere. Yep, here it is. University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine, I guess. Yeah. Some researchers use the accelerometers in a smartphone to detect whether someone had been drinking. So the way that the article is wording, it says your smartphone can tell if you're drunk walking. Well, actually, the way your smartphone is set up right now, it can't. But you could, build an app.
It has
been done.
The technology inside of it.
It has the accelerometers. But Google Maps isn't tracking you as you walk around saying, "Hey, this guy's drunk" or whatever. But I understand why the title of the article is worded that way to make you, click the article. But basically what they did, they strapped a smartphone onto the lower back of people to get an idea of what their baseline walk is, just to kind of get how they walk when they're not drunk. They had them walk 10 steps forward, turn around, and walk 10 steps back, and then they repeated it while or after drinking.
Yeah.
And they did it over a period of 7 hours. They walked each hour as they got more and more drunk or whatever. And the researchers were able to predict whether they were, I don't know if it was above the 0.08 body alcohol or whatever it is, but they were able to predict the drunk people with a 93% accuracy.
That's pretty wild. So, a concept.
It makes sense, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as I think it was CES last year. They were showing that you can unlock your car with your smartphone by putting it up to the handle, because
Hmm.
somehow that's easier than just grabbing your handle and auto unlocking like a 2013 Prius does. Uh, but what if your phone won't unlock your car because it assumes that you're drunk walking? Would you be for it or against it? Would you be against your technology preventing you from doing something?
I would say as long as you know that your car has this feature before you buy it, it's fine.
What
One
if they
place,
implement it a month after you buy it?
yeah, they add
It's
advertisements
by
inside your car.
EA, right?
Yeah. Um, what I feel like would be interesting would be maybe if insurance companies have an app, and
Oh,
say you select an insurance company that has the detect if you're drunk walking
yeah,
feature to, reduce your monthly payment if you are not drunk driving. Maybe
that's
the
pretty
insurance
good.
company could have an app that would connect to your car and wouldn't unlock your car if you had been drunk driving, or wouldn't start your car, I guess. Could still unlock it.
Yeah,
I don't know. I would say
a good
as
middle
long as you
ground.
know what you're getting when you get it,
Yeah,
it's fine.
right. Then
Right?
yeah, then you can get
Yeah.
anything you want as long as you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
I think a good middle ground almost would be then have like a friend texting app so that when you are drunk walking, it auto texts a person that you tell it to auto text. Like, hey,
Yeah.
hey, before we unlock any of this person's devices, we need your permission. And you have like a safeguard person.
That was actually one of my thoughts on this as well. Like if you go out to a bar or whatever and you get drunk, maybe it would you could set it up to text your friends so they can, be
Yeah.
there for you or whatever if you need them. Yeah.
And
It's a good thought too.
because then the obvious thing is then your phone won't let you text an ex if it can detect that you're drunk walking.
Yeah.
But then it could also pre-text somebody. So when you, as soon as you text them, it'll send out a text first that says like, this person has been identified as drunk walking according to blah blah app,
Yeah.
and then it sends you your text so they have a warning like, hey, this person might need your help.
Yeah. Yeah. It'd be interesting to see if anything would ever come of that.
I would be curious
It
also
certainly could.
on putting false positives in there and seeing if you can get people to fool the system and how easy it would be to fool it. So, can it detect drunk walking versus standing up too fast?
True. Yeah.
Or drunk walking versus tripping on a crack in the sidewalk?
Or dancing or
Yeah.
singing or
Or
yeah.
just hitting your hip on a guardrail. Like,
Yeah.
how.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, it would need a lot of data, I would guess, but it
Mhm.
would be interesting to see how easy of
Yeah,
a system it
that's one of
is.
the things with like testing it in a lab. You don't usually have to worry about all these false positives if you're just doing the first test of something.
Yeah.
But then once you try and avoid false positive, that's when stuff gets really tricky.
But it's definitely neat. It's.
Yeah,
I like
it's a cool concept.
I like the concept partly because it's not as, air quotes here, invasive as like a smartwatch would be, when it can detect like your sweat and it monitors your heart rate and
Mhm.
it, does your blood oxygen level. Like, this is more on just movement itself, I believe.
Yeah, yeah, just using the accelerometer.
Because it would be a lot easier to tell your blood alcohol level if you just, had a Bluetooth
Mhm.
uh, blood
Yeah.
test.
Or I mean, maybe a USB device that attaches to your phone that has a breathalyzer, that you
Yeah,
just blow into
that's
it.
yeah.
Although, to be fair, that could probably be faked if you had someone else blow into it, but, you know, details. Probably the accelerometer thing could be faked if you had someone else carry your phone, but,
Right.
you know,
When a drunk person asks if you can walk 10 feet with their phone.
you're right. Don't do it. I feel like this is not going to become a real thing
No.
in the next 10 or 15 years. I think in the future, our technology overlords are going to have all this stuff implemented, but that'll probably be after my days. So I don't have to worry about it that much.
See, I'm not worrying about it. The
Yep.
video. You can watch it without a worry, because we worry 24/7. It's made possible
About
by
our
Nephew.
sponsors.
Yeah, made possible on nephetech.com and
jmarmedia.com. I also have a website, I think. Let me make sure.
I was about to say I had to check mine today, but I just renewed it, so we're solid there.
Let's see. Hey, website's still up. That's good.
Man, before we even go to the other topics,
Yes.
so I did the one vlog, and it turned
Okay.
out pretty okay. You've seen it, I'm sure.
Mhm. Yeah.
Everyone's seen it. That's how
Yeah.
they work. And so we did another gig this weekend, and
Yes.
I got some footage. Nate got some footage. We had another person get some footage, and then we're talking to the videographer and photographer on seeing if they'll send over anything that we might want to use.
Mm-hmm.
Just as like a hey, we would really appreciate it just to have extra footage. So I haven't even gone through all of it yet, and so this one I'm planning to put a little more than an afternoon and time into. But definitely learned a lot. Vlogging is a lot harder the first time around.
Was it a lot easier the second time?
It was way easier the second time.
Technically, or not worrying about what other people think of you?
That, not worrying what other
Okay.
people think of you.
Yeah.
It's definitely weird the first time because you don't know like what it's going to look like in the end. Now that I've done it once, I'm like, oh, walking around like that looks like this in the end product.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I get a better idea. Like, I don't know. It makes me more confident in myself knowing what I look like in the moment versus after editing. And that's a good thing.
Yeah, for sure.
But otherwise, I've done a couple live streams of just laptop teardowns because that's one of the highest viewed video content that I currently make across the board is me tearing apart laptops. So I figured I'd do a couple more of those. I did a couple of those this week. Otherwise, this coming week, I don't have any big plans aside from starting to gather that footage.
Okay.
Because it's the first vlog went from 46 minutes of footage down to 9 minutes of content. And I think this time I'll have around 2 hours. And
Are you still going to shoot for the 10-ish minute mark?
yeah. So I was originally shooting between 10 to 12 minutes. So I didn't want to do anything more than 12 minutes. That's a lot of editing.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to see if I can shoot for that again and see what I get.
Okay.
But
yeah.
Hopefully
Nice.
that'll be up by next week is the goal. Any videos on your side?
Not yet. I need to, though.
No.
I know, right?
Speaking of time travel.
Time travel. Oh, we are going to time travel. And speaking of Google Maps, right? We talked about Google Maps last time a little bit, or on the last article.
How Google Maps uses DeepMind's AI tools to predict your arrival time. So I've yet to read this, but I have one super interesting Google Maps thing.
Okay.
Me and a friend were at the same place, and we were riding motorcycles. And we're like, all right, let's go to Cookout. And so we both pull up Cookout on our phone. And he goes, there's one 13 miles away. I like, there it is. So I click it. We both hit good directions. And he goes, it says 15 minutes. I go, mine says 23.
Wow, that is a big difference.
And we look, and it's the exact same route. But his was like twice the speed. I was like, dude. And we showed up more closer to my time because I was leading. So
Huh. I'd always wondered if Google Maps took into account your driving speed in relation to the speed limit. But I'd never
That
really known if how much it took that into account. But it sounds like in that instance, it definitely took that into account.
so what I was curious on is what the speed you drive versus the speed limit
Mhm.
posted for that street, or is it like all together? So like, oh, this person on average drives about 10 over, just as,
Mhm.
or is it doing percentages? So at the end of your trip, if it was if it was supposed to be an hour long trip, and you do it in 50 minutes, it's like, oh, this person drives 10 minutes, which is 1/6, and it makes that into a percent faster, and so then it changes the time for your next trip by that percentage that you're faster.
Yeah, I would think it'd be more like a percentage basis, but that could also change whether you're driving on highways and neighborhoods, if you're running into stoplights and all that stuff. So I bet there's no one at Google who really fully understands it. I bet there's a lot of people who know a little bit about it.
Oh, there's one guy there that just fully understand, and he can tell you from memory the code all the way down to the last semicolon.
So this article kind of talks about DeepMind, which is a London-based company owned by Alphabet that does AI work. And let's see. I think they put a blog post up too. I didn't read the full blog post. Let's see where this is at. Yeah, so there's actually a blog post on the Google website, blog.google.com or blog.google.
Slash
Actually,
products, right?
yeah, that talks about how Google Maps does some of this, but the article from The Verge kind of gives a good overview as well. So it uses data like the live traffic information, which would be collected recently from devices connected to Google Maps. It goes by historical traffic data, information like speed limits and construction sites, and also factors in the quality, size, and direction of any given road, which direction of any given road makes me think that even driving into the sun, maybe you would drive slower because you can't see as well. So it'd be interesting to see if that was factored in. Like things like paved roads versus unpaved roads.
I
But
was
one of the
interested in the word quality.
yeah,
Quality of
yeah,
the road? That's an amazing factor to put in there.
I would guess that's probably paved versus unpaved.
You think it's that general, not, you know,
Or
potholes.
it could be potholes, but that would be a harder thing for them to get into their system, I would think. You
So
know,
you would argue that, and I would argue against it, because they could tell when I ride a motorcycle. So they can tell the vibrations or something. They might be able to detect if there's potholes on the road just by how shaky the car is.
that's
Unless
true.
you got the bass subwoofers in the car, and then it's all the same.
Right? Yeah. One of the interesting points in this article is with COVID, there's a lot less traffic out. So the ETAs, the travel time is generally reduced, which meant that Google had to reduce how much they used historical data to predict travel times because
Oh,
back before COVID,
yeah.
they could use historical data better because generally, the traffic was more similar. And then when COVID happened, the traffic on
Traffic
the
got
road
cut off.
dropped significantly.
Yeah.
Yes, they had to factor historical data in less, which is kind of an interesting thing. Um,
So I don't know if it's known one way or the other if Google will try to route people in a less busy way. It seems like they would, because that would put your travel time lower. I
yeah.
wonder if, like, some people who always use their GPS to go to work ever had, like, when COVID started, the GPS recommend them take a different route because all of a sudden a route that's usually traffic ridden
Hmm.
is empty. I was like, You'd have a faster route because there's no cars out on the road.
Yeah, probably so. Yeah.
You should also not have to use a GPS to go to work, but
But you can if you want to get there faster and avoid traffic. Or, if there's an accident ahead of you, unless you're listening to the radio and you overhear that,
yeah,
in Google
that's
Maps,
true.
it's a good way to get places that you know where to get to faster. And also, I keep Google Maps open a lot of the time in case I see a traffic stop or whatever they call them, a speed trap, and I can
Speed
report it on
traps.
Google Maps. Yep. Or items on the road or stalled vehicles. You can report all those things in Google
Okay,
Maps.
I didn't even think about that. That's a good That's a good choice.
Yeah. So even though I know how to get to certain places,
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll still open up Google Maps.
It's a good argument
But
to always use them.
yeah, this article though kind of shows that there's a lot more factors than we generally think of when we think of Google Maps. Like we think of Google Maps as just
A glorified map.
yeah, a glorified map, but really there's so much data behind your route, how it's predicted or how it's suggested, how your travel time is predicted. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes that we don't see. And I think that's probably true in a lot of apps like this, but especially Google Maps. There's more going on behind the scenes.
Yeah. Speaking of taking things for granted, Apple storage space for Apple products. So this was a problem with me with my iPhone years ago because I had a 16 gig model. That's how long ago this was.
Gotcha.
And it was impossible to do anything because I would always run out of storage space.
Mm-hmm.
And this little article here I just saw, it was titled "How to Get Back the Other Storage on an iPhone or iPad." And so a lot of times your storage looks kind of like this picture here. Let's see if we make it a little bigger. It's a the far right picture on the first one. And so it shows like your red apps and your yellow photos and your purple media and then your gray system and then your other. And your other would take up like a ton of room.
Wow, that is a lot of room.
And it's like, what is other? Like, can you not be a little more specific?
Yeah.
It would be fantastic. Let me zoom back out. And so apparently there's ways to clear out that other storage. It says that some of the other things are Siri's alternative voices. So if you install different voices for Siri, that's part of the other. Keychain data. Don't know exactly what that is, but all right.
It's passwords and stuff.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah. Fonts, dictionaries, user logs, and more. It also looks like it's for phone indexing and caching, which would be the big ones I would assume is mostly caching.
Mm-hmm.
So then it shows a couple ways to get clear off that type of data, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, if your other is full, maybe delete some Siri voices, maybe delete some app caches.
Yep. Yeah, looking at that image, like you're talking about the third image on the right there, that's a lot of storage used up by other. That's almost twice as much as all the other categories combined.
Right.
And then if you look down beneath it at a Film IC Pro, it's using up 78.4 gigabytes, which means that Film IC Pro must have a lot of stuff falling into that other category too, because it's not just the app.
Yeah, right. It's a very...
That would fill up the apps, category all by itself.
Yeah, so it's probably that caching of video data.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh. Interesting.
That's one reason why Windows and Android is better. They don't have an other category for data. You always know what you got.
Ooh.
Speaking of knowing what you got,
Wow, that is loud. Auto playing video.
Wow. Yep.
If you go to the second to last link on my video, the GameSpot.com article, make sure you take off your headphones first.
Right. Or mute site. Just
Yeah, right.
all right. So yeah, just right click that tab, go down to mute site. It is loud. I heard it through my through your headphones into mine, and then I clicked it, and I was like,
Did the same
ah. All right, so GameSpot.com. They don't know how audio works, but they wrote an article on the NVIDIA release of the RTX 3090, 3080, 3070. So we talked about it a little bit last week, and I mean, I really like the 3070, and I kind of want to buy it. But that's the problem, is that the 3070 competes with the 2080 Ti, and it is $500.
What does the 2080 Ti cost?
A lot more than $500. I think it's $1,200.
Amazon.com. Yep, it is $1,300 is the first one I see.
Yep.
And the Founders Edition is $1,800.
Yep. So from the looks of it, NVIDIA is bringing a ton of performance to the dollar. The downside to this is that graphics card pricings are still going up. So like I bought my GTX 670 for like $300, and that was a pretty good card when it was released. I mean, it's like 6070, so it should be like a 3070, because then there's the 3080 that comes after it. There's a 680 after mine. So the 70 series is usually the second or third to the top end.
Mm-hmm.
And now the 70 is considered low end, and its low end is $500.
But the performance is
huge,
way higher. Yeah.
But now, instead of the top graphics cards being at $500 or $600, the top end graphics card is now going to be $1,500.
Which, interestingly enough, is cheaper than the RTX 2080 Ti Founders Edition. Last generation's Founders Edition is $1,800.
Yeah. So I don't know if I would be able to even afford the 5,000 or 6,000 series at this rate.
Yeah, right?
But with the 3070 being at the $500 price range, you're getting a $1,200 card performance for $500. And I don't think people are going to want to be spending $1,500 anymore, or at all. So I have a hard time believing that in October of 2020, the 3070 is going to be sold out everywhere, all the time, impossible to get.
Yes, I agree. At that price. And how popular is the 3080? It's not been released yet either. But I feel like the 3080 is going to be pretty popular too.
For $200 more, yeah.
Yeah, whereas the 3090 has, a little bit higher performance. Wow, actually has a lot higher
It has a
memory.
ton more RAM.
But cost over twice as much.
Yeah, I think the stepping stone between 3070 to 3080 is pretty good. For $200 more, you get an extra 2 gigs of RAM. You get, like, what is that, 60%? 50%? About 50% more CUDA cores.
CUDA cores, yeah.
Otherwise, you're about the same. You're going to get, a decent jump in performance, but nothing crazy for $200. That's a good one. But then, going from 3080 to 3090, I see a super hard jump to make.
Yeah,
doubling the price.
Unless you have something that really needs that extra
memory,
RAM or whatever it's called, yeah.
So one thing that I was curious on with this is their launch dating. So they're going to be releasing the 3080 first on the 17th, and the 3090 a week later on the 24th.
Yeah.
And then some mystery time in the future, they're going to release the 3070 in October. And
Yeah.
I'm curious if that is to try to mitigate everyone buying the 3070, like trying to sell your high-end stuff first because it's overpriced.
I think there's a good chance if they release the 3070 first, so many people would buy it, and then there would be less people in need of a graphics card. Yeah.
Right.
So this way they make it where you have to wait.
You want to buy that 3080.
Yeah, you want to get the 3080 now rather than wait a month. Maybe a month. It says October 2020, so
right.
You know, could be October 31st or something. Is it worth the $200 to wait? I don't know.
It is always.
But yeah.
That's all I had on it. I just thought it was interesting that it's such a huge jump in performance, and the performance to price ratio is definitely brought better. It's definitely better for that. But the overall price on graphics cards as a whole is so high.
Yeah.
But then, like, again, I'm running an 8-year-old graphics card. It struggles live streaming, but we're also, like, doing 2 live streams and a video chat. And I got, like, 7 Chrome tabs open. Like, I'm not doing a little bit. I've got a 4K screen and 3 1080p screens going. The card's definitely worth the money.
Yeah, so if you do get the 3070 or even the 3080, it'll probably last you for another
8 years, hopefully.
5 to 8 years, yeah.
That's what we can hope. Man, that was the last topic.
Yeah.
That's not how that's supposed to work.
I'm looking at a chart. Actually, let me send this to you in Discord. Looking at a chart of the RTX 3080 versus RTX 2080 Ti. And the only category that I see the 2080 Ti winning in is it has 3 more gigabytes of VRAM than the 3070. So the RTX 2080 Ti has 11 gigs of VRAM, whereas the 3070 has 8 gigs and the 3080 has 10 gigs. But the pricing difference is amazing because the 3070 is half the price of the 2080 Ti.
So would you be willing to give up, what is that, 3 gigs of RAM for $500? 400, 500.
If I was buying a card now, definitely. If I already had an RTX 2080 Ti, I'd keep it. I wouldn't upgrade.
There'd be no reason to upgrade.
Yeah, there'd be no
ridiculous.
Yeah. But if you're going into it saying, should I choose the RTX 2080 Ti or the 3080 or the 3070, the 3080 is a really good competitor to the 2080 Ti.
And it gives you a good bump up in CUDA cores.
Yep. A big bump up in CUDA cores and then a little bit higher base clock and boost clock.
Yep.
And then everything else is pretty much equal.
Awesome.
Yep.
Exciting time for graphics cards.
Step it up. Oh, yeah.
Well, we made it to the 1 hour-ish mark, 55 minutes. It's pretty good.
I'll take it.
We'll take it every week. And with that, I think we're done.
Have a good week, and we'll talk about it next week.
We're going to talk about all the things next week.
Both of the things.
at